It seems like the number one overall pick could be traded in the next week or so. What's going on, guys? I'm back with another Chicago Bears offseason update video, which I'll be doing throughout the entire offseason. So if you guys want my thoughts, my reactions to all the breaking Chicago Bears news that's going to go on the next couple of weeks and months, subscribe to my channel. Hope you guys are all having a phenomenal Sunday. The weather's pretty nice outside, so hope you guys are enjoying all that. But I have a report for you guys from Ian Rapoport that came out just a few minutes ago, okay, where he's saying that there's momentum towards a deal happening for the number one overall pick very soon. Okay, so according to him, he said that there's been a lot of buzz recently about teams scrambling to get up to pick number one via trade with the Bears. And then he also said that there's momentum now that a trade could be done before free agency starts. Keep in mind, free agency starts next Monday. Okay, so in the next 7 days, according to Ian Rapoport, he thinks the trade might potentially happen. Okay, there's momentum towards a trade happening, and that makes a lot of sense based on what we've heard from other reporters too. Okay, Adam Schefter also came out with a report last week saying that he thinks the pick could be traded before free agency. Other reporters also around the NFL have been saying the same thing. So especially after the NFL Combine, when GMs have met with each other, they've talked with each other, and GMs have also had a chance to look at Anthony Richardson, look at Bryce Young, their measurements, how they tested at the Combine, how they threw the ball. Obviously, Bryce Young didn't throw the ball or do many measurements, but he was there talking to teams. So, now is the time where teams are really starting to fall in love with certain quarterback prospects. And obviously, it's going to continue at the pro days. But the reason why a trade would happen before free agency and not later is because teams want to know how they're going to use their free agency dollars. And that includes the Chicago Bears too, right? Because if you trade out of the number one pick and you have, for example, maybe 2 first-round picks this year, or maybe you have, an extra second-round pick this year, maybe an extra third-round pick, you want to know exactly how many picks you have and where, so you can allocate your free agency dollars wisely, right? Like, obviously, because certain picks cost more money than others, and if you have more picks, maybe you're not going to sign as many free agents because you're going to have more picks to use. And for the team trading up to number one, you're not going to go after a big name free agent quarterback like a Derek Carr or like a Daniel Jones, or trade for a quarterback like a Lamar Jackson or an Aaron Rodgers if you have the number one overall pick, obviously. And teams just want to have a full game plan of what they want to accomplish this offseason, and that's easier to do if you already know what picks you have, and you can do that trade before free agency actually starts. So in my opinion, guys, based on these reports, I think it's really likely that the number one overall pick will be traded in the next 7 days. Okay, so all the speculation we've been doing, all the predictions we've been doing, all the mock trades we've been doing, it's going to come to an end pretty soon, probably, because the number one pick most likely is going to be traded. And the question is, with who? Okay, who are we going to trade this number one overall pick with? And I've already talked about this so much in my other videos, so I'm not going to do a whole long video breaking the potential trade backs down right now. But just a brief overview. Okay, so the Houston Texans at number 2 obviously make a lot of sense. They need a quarterback. They have pick number 12 too this year, so they have an extra first round pick if they have to trade up this year and outbid other teams. Now, I don't think they're going to have to trade number 12, but it is possible if they do fall into a bidding war for one quarterback that they really like. They have a high second round pick too. You got teams like the Indianapolis Colts at pick number 4, who we already know how desperate Chris Ballard is for a quarterback at this point. Okay, he needs to draft one basically to save his job, and their owner Jim Irsay is a pretty powerful owner. Okay, he does want things to be done his way. So if Jim Irsay elects a quarterback, then maybe Chris Ballard will be forced to give up whatever it takes to get that quarterback. If you look at the other teams, Las Vegas at number 7 makes a lot of sense as well. They need a quarterback. It would likely take at least 2 future first round picks and a second round pick too to move up to number 1 all the way from out of the top 5. So it's going to take a lot for Las Vegas. Atlanta Falcons, obviously we know they probably need a quarterback too, even though they have rookie quarterback, well now second year quarterback, Desmond Ridder. He didn't really get much of a chance to do much last year, but he's also not an exciting, top of the first round prospect, like the other ones available in this year's class, right? So even though they have Desmond Ridder, they could move off of him if they really fall in love with one of these year's prospects. And then obviously Carolina at number 9 is the last one that I feel like is very likely to go up to number 1, because they have a very powerful owner too, like a Jim Irsay. David Tepper has been adamant about getting a star quarterback in Carolina for a couple years now. They have multiple picks this year because of the Christian McCaffrey trade. They have multiple second round picks that they could include in a package all the way up to number 1, according to ESPN reports. Also, it seems like they are wanting to move up to the top of the draft. I don't know if that means number 1. Maybe it means like number 3 or a little bit later, but it could mean moving up to number 1 if they want their pick of the litter. So there is a lot of teams, guys, that could be trading up and bidding for this selection. So if you're a Chicago Bears fan, man, just be happy, right? Because the position we're in right now, we may never be in this position ever again, where we have so many teams willing to offer us hauls and their entire future to go up to our pick, and we can still get a fantastic prospect wherever we end up trading back to. Okay, even though I know a lot of Bears fans want Jalen Carter or Will Anderson guaranteed, there's a lot of other high-level talent in this class, okay, like a Jackson Smith-Njigba, who did fantastic at the agility drills in the combine. Okay, I know he didn't run the 40, but he did really, really good at all the agility stuff in the combine and also in the catching drills that they did. So if you want a route runner, a guy that can get open and be a consistent playmaker for Justin Fields out of the slot, maybe a JSN, you got offensive linemen, a bunch of pretty good offensive linemen like a Paris Johnson Jr., or maybe a Peter Skoronski. But Peter Skoronski has, pretty tiny arms, so maybe he's a guard, so maybe not preferred first round pick, but still a really good offensive lineman. You got defensive ends. Okay, the defensive end class is very, very stacked this year. You got Tyree Wilson. You got all these other guys running crazy times on their 40-yard dashes. You got so many other prospects this year. So with how many needs the Bears have in the draft, I feel like you can't go wrong going back to whatever pick you have to go back to acquire as many picks as you possibly can, because this Bears team, guys, needs a lot of help. One prospect is not going to solve our entire problem. So if it was up to me, guys, I'm okay with trading as far back as we have to, maybe picking up a JSN or a Tyree Wilson, whoever, later on, and still getting multiple first round picks, multiple maybe second round picks, and way more on top of all that. And the good news for the Bears, guys, is that all the quarterback prospects this year are just getting so much hype. Okay, way more even after the combine, right? Because you have a guy in Anthony Richardson who just tested crazy at the NFL combine. I mean, this guy ran a crazy 40-yard dash time. He's a big, strong guy. He's like 6 foot. I don't have the measurements in front of me right now, but like I believe he tested as the best, most athletic quarterback of all time at the NFL combine. Now we know that doesn't mean you're guaranteed to be a great quarterback, but teams fall in love with athletic traits like that. A lot of teams also love CJ Stroud's throwing session. Okay, throwing obviously against the air, against not a live defense, but he made some fantastic throws that wowed a lot of NFL scouts there. Obviously, Bryce Young didn't do much at the combine, but we know based on his tape, he's also a fantastic quarterback prospect. And he also measured above 200 pounds, which is actually pretty big for his draft stock. Okay, he's not as small as people thought he was going to be. He's still pretty short, but he's not as, skinny as people thought he was going to be. And obviously, Will Levis, too, has just a lot of buzz around him, too. So with all these different quarterbacks, getting so much hype, there's a possibility for a double trade down for the Bears like I did in my last mock draft. And the double trade down probably would be later. Okay, so if you trade down one time right now, if you only trade down to like pick number 2 or pick number 4, the second trade could be happening maybe during the NFL draft or maybe a little bit beforehand. So obviously not guaranteed we can trade down twice. You have to have both sides, be willing to trade. So you can't just trade down when there's nobody willing to trade up. But I think a lot of teams would be willing to trade up if we do only move down a little bit in the first trade. But we could also be trading down all the way down to pick number 9 in our first trade, in which case we're probably not going to do a double trade down. But whatever the case is, guys, I think that Bears fans are going to be happy with the return because there's just so much demand for this number 1 pick where I feel like you cannot go wrong if you are Ryan Poles. So let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments down below. Obviously, I'll be back with more videos next week, especially if the Bears do actually end up trading the pick. I'll be back with the video breaking that down and reacting to what the trade actually is. And obviously, free agency starts next week, okay? So a lot of videos coming on that. We have so much money to spend. It's going to be such a fun offseason. I hope you guys are ready to talk about it and discuss it all with me. But leave your comments down below, guys. As always, bear down.